Okay, here we are again. This is episode 34. No,
33.
33.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Embodied business inspired brain. And Anne and I were talking just a minute ago about how we love talking to each other. It's so sweet.
Yeah.
We love this. It's great. And we're really excited. This is essentially part 2 of our previous conversation. And today we're going to be talking about, or in this episode, how curriculum design saves you time and effort. And hopefully y'all will get real excited about that. I think, Anne, we should just skip over what's in process, what's in progress, because we're recording on the same day in all transparency. So you don't want to hear us say the same thing again. Okay, let's just cut straight to the chase, shall we? How does curriculum design save you time and effort? And actually, I think people will have a very particular idea about what curriculum means. And some people might even think like, oh God, school. I don't like that. Don't talk to me about anything that has to do with school. So can you tell us, give us your definition? Doesn't have to be the dictionary definition, but what is your version of curriculum design? Let's inform people a little bit and get some clarity.
Yeah. So when I think of curriculum design, if you have a business, right? And if you have a business that either provides products or services where you are essentially have a map or a plan, a blueprint of how you want it, of your client, of your customer, of your coachee, going from point A to point B. And what we know and what's so important is that so many people, particularly people who like to stay with you for the long haul, they like to learn about you. And it doesn't just, to me, it's like, it's you stepping back from the day-to-day of what you're doing. And I'm going to literally move backwards because I'm on a rolly chair. Get some foresight, get some context about what it is your business does, how it interfaces with other things, and how it supports people. So to me, that's what curriculum does. It allows your business to take your clients along a transformative or learning journey. And man, when people know more about you or know more about the services you provide, they are much more invested in you.
Yeah, I love this interchangeability between curriculum and blueprint. And I think where the difference lies is in the pieces. When we're designing curriculum, we do work with very specific pieces. And then you and I have crafted a very specific embodied approach to blueprinting for a business and education. So I just want to eliminate obstacles for anybody who might be feeling like a little allergic to the idea of curriculum, and say it really is about taking a clear vision and a clear idea and saying, here is how I want to transform people and here's how I'm going to do it. And then this guides every offer and every aspect of your business. I really love the idea of blueprint. So thank you for that. How does curriculum design then save entrepreneurs and coaches time and effort?
Oh, I love this. Yeah. Because, if you're an entrepreneur or you work for yourself, you may not identify with the word entrepreneur, but small business owner of a consultant agency, whatever term floats your boat and lights you up, gets you excited, go with that. But the important thing is, if you're someone who works for yourself or a part of a small team like Chantel and I, you probably have a lot of things going on. You might be very creative, and not just within your business, but within your personal life. And so some of the things that we need is more time, right? And what curriculum does is it basically it reduces the bandwidth that your brain has to hold while you're working with your clients on an individual level. So we know that task switching, this concept within the brain of when you're really focused, here's an example. So you're very focused on your individual, you're giving them nuanced feedback, you're really helping them. And then in the next minute, you then have to say, okay, but now they're just finished with their package or with the offer that I've given them, or with their time with me or the program whatever it is, however you work with people. And then all of a sudden you have to task switch and say, well, where are they along that strategy? And like, what comes next? Once you've developed a curriculum, you have this blueprint. And not only do you know where your people are, they have a gist of where they are. You might not have revealed the entire blueprint, but they can at least look back and see where they've been and how far they've come. And that alone, that discrepancy of, well, I started here and now I'm here, gives them motivation most likely to stay with you and to stick with you. So some of the time that it saves is just literally the bandwidth and the time switching, the task switching that your brain has to do between very individualized work to where the heck are they along this system. It also supports you because there are many rote tasks when we work with people individually that we have to do again and again and again and again. Maybe it's describing a very basic part of your work. Again, if you're in the movement field, maybe that's something like breath. If you're in the coaching field, maybe it's just kind of defining coaching and what that means and how that's different from mentoring or something like that. And it's just not required. And it sort of wastes time on your end and on their end for you to have to repeat yourself again and again and again. It doesn't mean that if the coachee really wants to hear you say that in person, fine. But if they want to hear it again, there's access to it. And so it can get you farther along with a client. It can also, again, like once you've developed a curriculum and you've put it up into some sort of learning management system, okay, that learning management system takes away the challenge of always having to automate, to send individualized emails. And the way this is different than automation, because there is a lot of times that, I have an email automation. I'm saying the word wrong. Okay, I have an email automation system.
Automation, there you go.
That sends it. That's a little different because most email automation systems do not also have the student following along in a learning process. It's more just like a series of emails that kind of sits separate, and then maybe the client is like coming in for private, single sessions. So there's more to it than just email automation. And so that's a lot of it. And then it allows you, the coach or the one-on-one provider, to really dive in and freeze your bandwidth up instead of saying, well, now I have to follow up. Because I told him about this and I told him about that, and I was going to give him this worksheet, and we're going to reschedule. If you have a curriculum, every single private session can live within that curriculum, and then there's follow-up that can be automated that support them, or they can find it themselves as you teach your coachee or your clients to be as autonomous as possible, right? And that doesn't matter just because it saves you time, but when clients or coachees become more autonomous, they are more invested in the work themselves.
Yeah. And it's not just about automation. It's about, the curriculum spurs clarity, like deep clarity. And I would say in most instances, more poignancy in what you're doing. So when you get to, and we were just talking about this recently with a 21-day program that you created, Anne, like having to lay it all out from beginning to end, pre-work, which is basically the priming and onboarding process. And then each week, like you're creating something that lives forever, that could be tweaked and changed as your approach changes or information changes. But it just allows everything, I think, to be more rich. And so the pre-creation is not only keeping you on track and poignant in your delivery, but it does support the student. They don't have to wait for you. I always feel like that creates a lot of internal pressure for me of like, crap, I haven't gotten to the thing. I haven't told so-and-so to give the thing to the client. And also the onboarding and offboarding process, right, can be the end caps of your curriculum, or the onboarding and transition process, as we like to talk about it. And that's another reason why I love using curriculum design, and we use it for every single offer. Every single offer. And it's so powerful because what I find very valuable is, to Anne's point, you were talking about earlier, like saving the time of when somebody's at the end of their contracted, package, and then you want to make them another offer, but you're not like sure quite where they've been or what their original goal was or what the next step might be. And when you have a curriculum, you have these beautiful anchor points where you're like, okay, this week we're working on this. I mean, and it's adjustable, obviously, to what's going on in the moment, but you can keep them on track so that they are compelled each time you work with them. And so when you get to the end of the contracted, allotment of sessions or program, you both are really clear. And then I think I said this in the previous podcast, it's just a transition. It's not like an upsell, right? It's not like you're selling anything. And this is particularly valuable if you don't like sales and marketing. Like, I don't know, we hear so much that, if you are, just a lot of people don't like that, right? It's not, they love a lot about what they do. And maybe they are also entrepreneurial, but they don't enjoy the sales part. And when you have a curriculum design structure to a blueprint to follow, it really just becomes a conversation and an invitation to the next thing rather than selling anybody. The person's already sold. You've been selling them all along. And you don't have to pitch anything. I find that over and over and over. We just kind of had that experience this morning with a private client.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, this is not a sale. This is like, here's what you said you needed and wanted. Here's what you have accomplished. Here's how you keep going. It just really makes it lighter, I think.
And I'll say, I've absolutely heard in my life, oh, well, sales is, when it's really done well, you're basically just listening to someone's problem and do you have a solution for them? And you probably have heard this too. Like, I'm sure some of you who listening to this podcast have heard that too. And you can hear that thing, but then it doesn't always work. Or you're frustrated because you're like, I've heard that thing, but I can't quite. I swear the curriculum design piece really does help it work. Because at this point, which the business that Chantel and I have, that's literally just what it is. It's like, it truly is. Okay, here is the problem that you're having. How can we next support you?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I want to say that adds to a lot of this support is that when you have a curriculum and you are bringing, again, if you're thinking of the alphabet or you want to think of a number line, however long you want it to go to, infinite, because we all keep growing, right? Is that then you're able to really work with people in longer and longer term contracts, right? Or deeper and deeper transformations. And how lovely is that? How lovely is it to have someone or to have a group of people or to have 80% of your clients who work with you for 2 to 3 years, 4 to 5 years, as you take them through the process that you work with them. And so that is one thing that I find to be very generative, so that you're not always working maybe with the same people on the same more surface level problem, but that you can really go deep and get to the heart of what's challenging them, which we know to really change things, a longer term commitment from most people is just what we all need from human behavioral standpoint.
Yeah. And the last thing I think I'll say is just that this morning when we were talking to our one-on-one client, I really have this experience that from working within curriculum design, particularly from the embodied perspective and brain-based perspective, I'm constantly energized by the next transformation. It's like you pull out that seed of desire and passion for the work that you do, and you pull it out and you get to look at it and you get to keep it in front of you. And so then you are dedicated to their transformation, but at the same time, you are also being dedicated to your own transformation because it does have to match, right? So I think I've been surprised by that and really appreciated that container, like that creative container of oh, this is my work. This is the job that I do, is to transform people. And therefore I have to continue to be transformed and to tap new parts of myself and my brain and my experience. And I think if you don't have that container to work in, it can be very easy to become depleted and overextended, quickly. So I have always found that to be a surprising bonus.
Yeah, because, the roadmap doesn't just support your students, it supports you, right? And when you get in the practice of thinking that way, it's like it just permeates in everything that you do, right? Like, okay, how can we support this? It's going to this. And it's very satisfying.
It's very satisfying. It's very satisfying. So if you are interested in tapping into this level of ease and more efficiency in terms of time and self-transformation while transforming others, then we really want to share with you an opportunity coming up in January 19th. We have recreated our embodied course creation program, and we have divided it into two really exciting pieces. The first piece, which starts in January, is all about designing. It's ideation and design and creating a curriculum, whatever the offer is, whatever you're creating it for. And we're focused on helping you bring in the brain-based perspective, the body-based perspective, motivation, science, nervous system, behavior change, all the juicy stuff. So 8 weeks with us to take your creation from in your head, your idea from in your head, to something that you're ready to collect deposits on. Want to say anything more about part one, Anne?
Yeah, I mean, Chantel and I have helped dozens and dozens and dozens of coaches and teachers and one-on-one providers create these programs. And we've really designed this part one to focus on one of the biggest roadblocks that we see in teachers, and coaches, which is when they develop their first course or maybe redevelop a course, is that the challenge tends to be actually getting it up onto some sort of online learning management system. So we help you do that. You do not need to let tech slow you down. The choice, which one do I choose? What matters? We support you in that, because don't let that slow you down. Like, let's move over that together. And the other piece that we see people sometimes challenged with is they don't know which topic to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And where to start. So we have a very specific way where you start where your people are at, right? Because you're going to train and support the people that you serve. So it can't be top down. It can't be us telling you. We'll give you some ideas of what we know works, but it has to be, again, a marriage, a coming together of what your people want and what we know works. And so we're going to support you with that, threading that needle. And then the final thing that people really, really struggle with is they create too much and the students get overwhelmed. And so we really dig into exactly how not to put too much on your online course. Or within your programming that you want to offer your students the first time, so that they are not overwhelmed. That's one of the biggest things that we see, is that there's just too much. And it's because a lot of you do very deep and rich work. And so we have to honor the depth that you're bringing and allow people to do that. And most of you probably work with busy people, right? Who have lives and are not taking your program as a college level course, right? They're just taking it to add on to their life in a way that is bite-sized and works for them. If you develop teacher trainings or longer term mentorships, we have another program for you. So we look forward to supporting you.
Yeah. So here's what we want to invite you to do next is, if you're interested in learning more about the Embodied Course Creation Program, part one, we've explored. Part two is all marketing, pricing, and sales, launching the program within the context of your business, whatever that means for you. We would love to get on a call with you. And so within the show notes, or you can find it in our link tree in any of our social media outlets, you can book a ECC Catalyze call with us. When you book that call, make sure that you write that you heard about it on the podcast, because we have very special pricing for our listeners. So find the link, get on a Catalyze call and tell us that you heard about it on the podcast, and we can share with you all the good stuff. All right. Hope everybody is having a wonderful holiday season, staying warm, and we will talk to you again very soon.